Right, friends. So continuing a little bit, stories that Pinya course, Oliver Sholem, told by Verbrengenisch. It's a famous story of Mendel. He says it very briefly, but he says it's told often not so accurately. He's going to tell it accurately. I'll tell you two quick stories. They're said quickly, but they're not quick stories by any stretch. So he says that Mendel told him personally, say, these are the details, the correct details, even though very brief. So in 1947, Mendel was arrested. Right, this was soon after everybody left. And he was guilty of two things. He was guilty of being involved in the forging of the passports, and guilty of being integral to the Rebbe's underground. So Mendel said to Pinya, this is what he says, that the beginning, when I was interrogated, he doesn't go into detail, and Menachem Begin famously calls it the white nights, under the white bare light bulb. And they really, it's an interrogation. He says, you forget about everything, including family. I remember once hearing Rabbi Mendel speak. I remember exactly what he was talking about. I remember it was very striking. When Chassid speaks, he's describing his ordeal, something in the interrogation. The interrogations were physical, abusively, physically, and also emotionally, mentally, to break the person down. But at one point then was going to the next stage, he said, these are words he used, the dog is given FREILACH, and then it became FREILACH. He starts smiling and begins to describe the next thing. Just that, who talks this way? He's describing the next level of torture, of beatings, of confinement, whatever, whether the solitary confinement, whatever they did, the next thing. The noch is given FREILACH, and then it became the euphemism that he uses. FREILACH, of course, B'pnimis, it's very rooted in such a deep, deep place, obviously. And to say, use such language, and to say it with a smile in his eyes, sparkle. This is the language of a chassid. It was in the context of the nights. They would come in the middle of the night and drag him out. So he said in the very beginning, you're so, these words, yes, you forget about everything. But then, when you already got your sentencing, you're sitting in prison, because you refuse to cooperate, to give any names or divulge any information. So then you start thinking about family, etc. So he said, I was sitting in the cell. There's more detail. This is bare bones story. So he said, I wanted to write a letter to the Rebbe. It was defeating it. It was 1947. First of all, he didn't know him until later. In fact, one point, they told him that the stalkers of the defeating Rebbe to crush him. So your leader is dead. And as I recall hearing the story many, many years ago, absolutely, it came out of their mouth, but the new ones are worse or something. They said it derogatively, obviously, but from Rabbi Mendel was a big idud, a big cause of great encouragement. Somewhere that came out after maybe research and find the right word. And let's finish the story. So then he wanted to write a letter. So what he's sitting in prison. So he remembered this, that a chassid can send a pan, which I've been learning about the last few days, a pidyon nefesh in machshava, in thoughts. As I remember hearing from him the story, that he imagined himself going to the mikveh and preparing himself, sat there, closed his eyes and imagined it all, and sitting himself, and he's writing a letter to the Frierdiker Rebbe, which I didn't know until I read it here now. This story that he was writing not about himself. I thought it was about himself. He's writing about his family. Not a bracha for himself. This I didn't know. So finished. And then he went through that process, sitting in his prison. 1964, when he came out finally, and he came out, I just want to tell you, he came to Australia. He did this for tomorrow. 1966, 67, maybe a little bit later. Remember when he first came as a child? So he was collecting money for Tzmimim. So when he came out in 1964, his wife lived in London. So his wife says to him, she doesn't understand. She says she got a letter from the FREILACH Rebbe, 1947, addressed to the Mendel Futterfass. And the letter begins in answer to your telegram, a whole letter, a bracha, which would be nice to see. I'm sure we can find it. And then he remembered, she was puzzled, and he remembered that that's what he sent, the Pidgin Nefesh Machshava. Okay, there's more stories about Rav Mendel, God willing, tomorrow. Very beautiful. So tomorrow is Friday, so tomorrow, friends, 6 o'clock, Be'ezrat Hashem, and we'll continue. Okay, have a wonderful day, everybody. I hope to come back today without any problems and to see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.